So guys, very quickly, the direct write-off method is very easy, very simple. As we know, there are multiple steps in that allowance method. Just to recap those steps, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to look at accounts receivable. You're going to look at all of your little subsidiary accounts receivables under the control account. You're going to take that account receivable control balance and you're going to age it. You're going to use based on experience, the percentages of uncollectability. You're going to come up with what's called the required ending balance in the allowance account. You're going to consider the beginning balance of the allowance account, which is a credit balance. You're going to have the ending balance of the allowance account, which is a credit balance. You're going to consider any write-offs to the allowance based on accounts that were deemed just uncollectible as a whole. That would be a debit transactional account entry. And now you're going to have a subtotal balance in the allowance to get you to that required ending balance based on aging. We've done that in several examples. I showed you both sides of the approach. Now the direct write-off method is really simple. You don't consider all of those things. You only do a journal entry when you are actually writing off an account under the direct write-off method. There's no allowance account. There's no contra asset account. Under the direct write-off method, you are writing off an account once you deem for it to be uncollectible. There's no aging. All you're doing is writing off an account when it is deemed uncollectible. And that is a debit to debt expense and a credit to accounts receivable. At this point, the account is deemed uncollectible. At this point, you write it off. There's no estimate. There's no allowance contra asset. There's no aging. It's a direct write-off to accounts receivable. Again, the journal entry would be a debit to debt expense and a credit to accounts receivable for the write-off. All right? The chapter says a couple of problems arise under the direct write-off method. Since there is no allowance account, accounts receivable are not shown at net realizable value on the balance sheet, resulting in an asset overstatement. Under the direct write-off method, sales revenue may be recorded in one accounting period with related bad debt recorded in another or a later accounting period, which violates the matching principle. Therefore, the direct write-off method is against GAAP due to problems of asset valuation and matching. Very important point to remember. Might be a quiz question. Direct write-off is not consistent with GAAP. And we mentioned why it's not consistent from a valuation standpoint and from a matching standpoint. You now have the completeness of this chapter 5. There's one other area we'll cover, and we'll talk about that later. Thanks so much.